The third myth I love, and that's that data equals better results. And I don't know how many of you in the room have ever heard of a term called vanity data. Anyone heard of vanity data? Just by show of hands? So data can be cosmetic. It looks great. It means nothing. We do nothing with it. It's vanity data. So data definitely can equal better results, but it can only equal better results if it's coupled with action. And then not just any action. It needs to be the right action for that data. So if we look at what data needs to be, firstly, it needs to be understandable. So I'll give you an example of an online compliance training intervention that needs to be rolled out across an organization. So if we say that it needs to be understandable, we want to be saying how many employees need to have successfully completed the online training and by what date. So we need to understand the data that we're trying to gather. It also needs to be comparative. So if we know that we've got 40,000 employees that all need to have completed this data, is there a way for us to see which departments have completed X amount versus other departments? Can we see a comparison of the data across different segments, and how is that useful for us? It needs to be ratio or rate based. So it's one thing to say that I've got 10,000 people that have completed my online training. But 10,000 out of what? We've got a target of 40,000. So actually, we're only sitting on a 25% completion rate. So we need to be able to have that ratio rate base to align to. And then lastly, is it behavior changing? So if I'm only sitting with a 25% completion rate of my training, what am I going to do about it? What are the actions or the behaviors that I need to take as a change manager? Do I need to re-engage? Do I need to go out and find out why we've got such a low uptake? Does everyone actually have access to the system? Have there been issues reported? Do they know who to go to? Were they actually sent the correct links? So there are a number of specific things that we need to bear in mind when we look at data. So I'm going to hand over to the panel, and I'm going to start with Lynn. Lynn, do you believe that data is the answer?
Very much in this, it's data and action. So I'd like to ask the audience, before I ask you this, is also why you're using their data. Is it a trend? Is the information now a cool thing to gather? So we talk about big data and that taking over organizations and HR being obliterated in the future. Great. I just want to apply something personally. How many people here have a fitness tracker? You know, these armbands? Right. How many of you have taken action based on the results of your fitness tracker in terms of fitness improvement? Okay, so quite a drop-off. How many of you have changed your eating habits because of your fitness tracker? Oh, only about 3, 4. So here's something that is a trend. Majority of my friends have them. I don't do fitness. It's bad for you. Drinking is the way to go. I do count the number of glasses of wine I have because my doctor asks me, and I lie a little. But the point is, we get data on a daily basis, fitness being an example. We take actions to drive the change, and those that can sustain it, well done. I'm really pleased. You know, I will give you a lift up the hill when you slow down running. But it's important that you've got to sustain it. So it's not just about data and actions, it's sustainability as well. What are you going to do? What are you going to change about that? If you're taking data about your poor sleeping habits, are you taking a sleeping tablet? You know, are you changing your eating habits? So we run up the hill like idiots, but we're stuffing hamburgers down our throat. You know, there's got to be a balance. So it's saying, use the data, take the right actions, very much what Linda said, but do something that's sustainable. Because I can assure you, in 2 years, when the fitness trackers are out, the same people won't be doing those actions. So it's a combination. Data, actions, sustainability.
I just want to say that some of us run up the hill so we can eat the hamburger.
I don't eat, so I can drink the wine.
Thank you, Lynn. Samuel, have you used change management data at Sasol to drive better results?
Yeah, I actually like that vanity data concept, because I think you actually have a lot of that going around, especially if you get in consultants. We, as I showed with the People Radar and with the surveys that we run, it's about analyzing it, making sure that the right information is in front of the decision makers, so that they can decide where they want to go to. We're currently reviewing our employee engagement survey that we run every now and again. And one of the things that came out of that is if you're not going to do something about something that you measure, don't measure it. You're wasting time, you're wasting people's time and effort. If you come with an 80-slide report back on a survey that you've run, and those decision makers can't understand what they need to do. So for us, it's trying to crystallize it to the most important things, and that it's very clear to those decision makers what action do we need to take. Yeah. Now, that's a challenge. We're in an engineering company. People love the data. They analyze to the nth degree, analysis paralysis. You need to be careful for that, because they read the wrong things into the data and focus on the stuff that's not really going to drive the adoption and the return on investment.
Yeah. Just want to add something there. Very much. I mean, I know there's a few people, some of my colleagues do deep sea diving. And just building on what Samuel was saying, is one of the things you learn when you're diving is beware of the deep. So when you're training, you've got to level off at a certain level and not drop below that, because you won't pass the exam. And it's the same with data. You've got to level off. You've got to look at the data, analyze what's available to you, but don't get drawn into the deep, because you can get lost. Mm-hmm. And it's analysis paralysis. But just to bring a funny side to it, one of the things, and sorry again, fitness people, it's not that I have an issue with you, but I watch these things. So there's a program on TV called How to Lose Weight Well. Anyone watch it? Okay, it's an excellent program. It's a British thing. And what they do, they test every diet ever created on the planet and challenge the diet. And one of the challenges was they look at all the technology as well for fitness, etc. So the fitness tools were all assessed. And do you know that every single fitness tracker inaccurately measures calories by up to 50%?
Yeah.
So run faster. That's all I can say.
Oh, thanks, Lynn. And how have you used data to improve results at Nedbank?
So a while back, we implemented an international trading system. And it was quite interesting because we were going to go live in 3 weeks' time. We started training all of the traders and dealers on the floor, and we gathered all the data feedback that they gave us, and it was really, really shocking. It resulted in 13 system enhancements. The program was delayed for over a year. My boss found himself on the red carpet in front of the CEO. And we would have had a complete failure if we hadn't actually gathered that data and used it properly. We at the same time had used a central, we called it the Genius, a learning portal. And because it was such a big thing for the bank to be putting a whole new international trading system that fed from the dealing room through to credit risk operations, back office treasury operations, right down to your SWIFT notifications going out, we made their learning rate really, really high. So, and that was like 85% pass rate, and without that, they couldn't actually operate in the system. And yeah, the launching of it went really, really smoothly.
Okay. Thanks, Ange. My audience members, do you have any questions, comments around data? Yes, lady over here. If you'll just let us know your name and where you're from.
All right. Dimakazo from AGT. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
In the space that I do change management, is in the schools regarding the new smartboard and the likes. Regarding the vanity cosmetic data, how do you, I really need help, assistant on how do you handle it? Because with the metrics that I was using, there's where we're asking the management, the SMT questions. And you know, because they don't want to look stupid, they'll say, yeah, this is okay, and this is okay. And together with my team, because I'm leading a team, you'll find that when you go down or even doing a reality check, you go to the classes, you'll find that the board are still being used and they're put next to the smart board. And remember, at the end of the day, is that data that I can't say to a person you are lying. Remember, this is how I structured my metrics. So I want to know, can you help me? How do you handle that, where you find a lot of vanity data, and to really put it to reality, to say, no, this is reality check, department, look, this is what is happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So for me, I think it's about then going and actually doing another qualitative and quantitative analysis to say, and collect that data and go back and say, we have to be honest and in our data. So it is those hard discussions, especially when you have to have it with your executives and leaders and say, we are not where we are tracking, and have them relook at it and then go back to then realizing the value of what you've implemented. So take it back to the value and say, you've implemented this, but we're not actually getting the value that was intended purposes. And then take that to showing it down through a benefit realization. So I would almost go back and rehave those conversations and then put some mitigating actions in place to try and resolve it to get to the state we want it to be. Yeah.
But also in that sort of challenge, I think you really need the support of your leadership, and you need them to acknowledge that actually, yes, this data has been incorrectly interpreted, or it is vanity data, and to sell that message, because trying to implement all these changes and to get people to take our information and the messaging seriously, you really do need support from the top.
I think also just in response to that is that you also need cross-reference data to validate your findings.
Yeah.
So you actually want to take a multiple approach in your situation. So the one is, yes, they might be completing surveys. The accuracy of the information they're providing might not be there, and that might be for fear of exposure, because maybe they feel, they're going to look like they're not equipped to be able to use these smart boards. If you use an alternative way of gathering that data, which is through observations, and you actually have a checklist that says, okay, so if we go into the classrooms, can you validate the data that we're getting from the survey? And then if you cross-validate it, you can share that with your executives, and you can say, actually, what we're seeing, what we're observing is that the data that we're getting through the surveys is incorrect, but what we're observing is this. So use multiple means to validate your findings. Okay.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Alcin. I'm from Consultant at the office. I would also suggest that you re-look at the questions. Someone made reference to asking the right questions, and Samuel mentioned asking open-ended questions. So with a question like, what do you like most about using your smart board? Will immediately show you how many people are using it and how many people are not using it.
Yeah. And even what are some of the challenges that you've had with using your smart board? What are some of the reasons why you may not want to use it? Yes. So getting those probing questions going. Yeah.
Eddie from Div Consulting. Just on a practical perspective, following on from what Debbie's saying, there's a difference between doing a survey and an audit. So if you're doing a survey, you're relying on people giving you the right answers, or giving you accurate information. If you're doing observation, i.e. an audit, then you are sure to get the right information. But the problem is that you're identifying or singling out people. So that's what you want to try and avoid. If you want to try and get surveys with accurate results, you need to anonymize data. So you can do a research and a feedback program to obtain data by doing it anonymously, which will improve the quality of your results. Or you can do an audit, but you can still anonymize the data. So those are some of the practical tools that you can use to get more accurate data out of a research like that.
Thank you. Wow, and I think what's really great, yes, Tanya.
Of course, what you're describing with the smart boards and the teachers not wanting to accept it is just a classical resistance to change scenario. And what could help would just be to drive the benefits. And if you can find one person that's bought in, or one or two people, and really highlight, celebrate the successes kind of thing, highlight the benefits that they've had, and create a pull amongst the teachers to actually accept the whiteboards.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's great that the whole purpose of this community is for knowledge sharing, and just through one question, there's so many people that actually want to give support and guidance. So I think that's what I really love about this concept. So yeah. So lots of thought for us around data plus action. And maybe just to find out from you as an audience whether you've used change management data to drive better results. So how many of you have actually used data to get different results? Is that the final answer? Yeah. 50-50. Okay, well, that's great. That looks a lot better. So we've got about 80% of us saying at this point in time that we are using data to drive better results. And I think that's great. I think it's really important. And it definitely helps, again, reinforce the value of the work that we're doing. And it definitely helps us look a lot more, and I know scientific is not the right word, but you know what I mean. We're looking at very hard metrics to confirm what it is that we're doing and that it's right. So I think just in terms of busting our last myth, we know that data plus the right action does definitely equal better results. And there's a beautiful saying that says the universe applauds action, not thought. So I always see data as the thinking and the action as what is it that I'm going to be doing about it. So what are some of the things that you can do if you want to increase the amount of action linked with the data that you're gathering? I think firstly, align data collection and usage to your intended purpose. Really be asking yourself, why am I gathering this information? What is it that I'm trying to do with this information? Is it valuable? Is it useful? And am I getting results from it? Look at the right data measurement tools. So what tools are fit for purpose? What tools work for you? Don't let the absence of data lead to inactivity. So just because you don't necessarily have data available immediately, don't let that be something that you then do nothing because you don't have the data. Also ask the right questions for the intended outcome, and that came through quite strongly with our panel feedback and with our audience feedback. Collect contextual data versus using only one data set. So how do I use multiple types of data to validate or invalidate? And then lastly, define metrics that are understandable, comparative, ratio-based, and behavior changing. And I think if we do all of that, we can definitely see that this myth is certainly busted.